Hello friends and family, thank you for joining me. This is Paper with a brief history of zombies, like super brief, not going to be long at all. It's going to be 20 minutes, but it's not going to be a detailed history. So, I'm not the biggest zombie fan in the world, but I do understand they're a big part of horror culture and they're pretty inescapable. So I'm going to be doing this video and then another looking at the different zombie aesthetics, looking at how they change from franchise to over time, all that good stuff. So the word zombie dates back to West Africa, first recorded in 1819 in the form of zombie, in reference to Agro-Brazilian rebel leader named Zumbi. Its official origin is therefore West African, and is compared to words like Nzambi, or for God, and Zumbi for fetish. Not the kind of fetish you're thinking of, probably. That may be the earliest recording of that particular word pertaining to the particular concept of soulless corpses shambling around, but the concept of undead has existed for ever, basically. All cultures have some kind of undead or death-related myth, ranging from vampires to Gashadokuro to this thing, to Strigoi Mort, to the Banshee, and so on and so forth. Plenty of archaeological digs have discovered graves in all different cultures where the corpses have been messed with by putting rocks in the mouths to keep them from eating humans, or by crushing the head or removing the head completely, because of the fear of the undead. People have been afraid of the dead rising from their graves for as long as we've had graves. Our modern understanding of zombies, though, calls back to Haiti and to Haitian voodoo. Before we move forward, I want to clear something up. The connection, as I as an outsider understand it, between Haitian voodoo and zombies is a lot like the connection between Roman Catholicism and, like, the actual demon possession and exorcisms. You know how demonic possession and Roman Catholic exorcism are portrayed in the media? How it's not really a thing that happens or people do nowadays? That is my understanding of what the relationship of Haitian voodoo and zombies is like. It's not really a thing. It's part of their religion, but in the same way demonic possession and exorcism is part of Roman Catholicism. So let's just put that out of our heads. Sort of. This is a pop culture thing blown way out of proportion, and that's fine. That's what pop culture does. It's, hey, here's this neat thing, let's just all over the place. There is folklore in Haitian voodoo about sorcerers who can raise the dead, or the mostly dead, and turn them into mindless slaves to do their bidding. These sorcerers are called Bokor. I'm probably mispronouncing that, but we're going to keep on. The more real-life explanation for Bokor raising corpses is that they give a living person a deadening potion that makes them seem dead. After they're buried, the Bokor raises them from the grave and keeps them brainwashed with a series of mind-enhancing drugs to keep them in a dreamlike state where they can be controlled. Some legends just axe the whole thing and go, fuck it, walking corpses! So there's that. Regardless of the reason, they're controlled by fungus, go the Last of Us fans. The ancestral mythos of our pop culture zombies today come from here. And this mythos was built on anxieties at the time. And I don't mean anxieties like self-actualizing anxieties or, the Fight Club anxieties. I mean anxieties like, we just had a revolution to get out from under France's control, and our country might reinstate the horrific, brutal slavery where slaves were literally worked to death within a few years. Like, those kinds of anxieties. The, I'm afraid of having my free will stripped from me, and I turn into a mindless and ultimately inhuman body where my only worth is servitude until I die. Anxieties. Kinda easy to see why zombies became a thing. So the folklore that started was built on anxieties of slavery and losing free will, of being forever trapped to work for someone else as a slave, even after you die. The fear was that as a slave, your only relief was death, and a release to Languine. But what if after you died, you weren't released from your body? Your body just kept moving, kept being a slave, with you trapped inside, unable to control anything anymore, and helpless as you kept going through unending servitude and horror. Again, easy to see why it became a thing. Humans always fold their anxieties into folklore and myth as a way to distance ourselves from it enough to talk about it, to try and make sense of it. So this idea folded into Haitian voodoo with the Bokor thing, where zombies are created or enslaved into being servants or slaves. That they didn't need to be slaves in life adds to that anxiety, that you could avoid becoming a slave all your life only to die and have your body used against your will. Kinda wonder if cremations ever became popular at that time. As the zombie folklore folded into voodoo, and voodoo was carried into the States, kind of against its will, it crossed paths with American culture. The first kind of pop culture whatever I can find about zombies in America after this period is the short story Herbert West, Reanimator by H.P. Lovecraft. I know I just did a whole video about Frankenstein and mentioned zombies in it, but we're setting that aside because, one, I've already talked about Frankenstein for an entire video, and two, it's not really in this time period and doesn't really count because, you know. Anyway, Reanimator is about a doctor who invents a serum that reanimates corpses. Kind of like Frankenstein, it's about a dude dicking around with death for just the hell of it. He reanimates several corpses despite every single one turning out to be like child murdering levels of bad, and then in the end is consumed by them. So there's that. It's sort of a love letter to Frankenstein, so I'm just going to briefly mention it. It's also H.P. Lovecraft, so people might get on me if I don't. It's both so prolific enough that you've probably heard of the film version or the remake of it. The real first pop culture whatever of zombies that people point to is White Zombie, directed by Victor Halperin, wherein Bela Lugosi plays the role of the Bokor in raising or mind-controlling the mostly dead to be his slaves. He does the same with a woman in a weird kind of help a bro out way. Like, this guy loves her, even though she's supposed to marry this other guy. And dude number one asks Bela Lugosi, whose name in this is fucking Murder Legendre, which is the stupidest fucking name on the planet. It's worse than Hannibal Lecter as far as names that scream, I'm a villain, go. To do him a solid and mind control this woman so she'll marry him? Which was a whole lot of issues, so let's not even go there for now. If you're thinking there's maybe a problem with a white guy playing a Bokor, a Haitian voodoo sorcerer, Haitian voodoo being predominantly practiced by people who are black, then congratulations and welcome to the wonderful world of whitewashing! Yeah, this is sort of a problem. A major problem. Because pretty much from its beginning, pop culture looked at zombie mythos and went, I like that idea in folklore, but maybe not so much the black people. So the title White Zombie is very literal. It's taking a mythos it knows to be predominantly black and making it white. Now, White Zombie came out in 1932, so it's not like there weren't black people on film. There weren't a lot of not racist depictions of black people on film, but you could have at least made the Haitian voodoo sorcerer look like someone who would actually practice Haitian voodoo. He was the villain! His name was Murder! It would have been fine-ish. But fine, whatever. So there were quite a few zombie movies in between this and our next pop culture landmark, including another Victor Halperin movie called Revolt of the Zombies, which, let's assume that title is descriptive and move on. A lot of these aren't really worth mentioning. Actually, most of them weren't worth mentioning or going over because, well, one of them is Plan 9 from Outer Space, and the rest of the list includes things like Creature with the Atom Brain, I Eat Your Skin, and, this is true, The Incredible Strange Creatures Who Stopped Living and Became Mixed Up Zombies, which was apparently collectively panned by critics, and God only knows why. But it does seem to harken back to original zombies who were mind-controlled slaves. Now, pop culture landmark number 2? Let's go with number 2 because it's going to be the one that everybody points to. Night of the Living Dead, directed by George A. Romero, came out in 1968. Romero presented the zombies in Night of the Living Dead as the lovable cannibalistic cadavers that we're so familiar with today. Worth noting that Romero actually referred to the zombies in this as ghouls, setting them apart from what he believed were true zombies and are true zombies, that is, zombies that have been raised as slaves. Raised to be slaves, raised from the dead to not like raised as children. Anyway, Romero's ghouls are sort of the mold for how we see zombies today. Unexplained hordes of the dead rising up and shambling along unerringly, searching for flesh to consume with no will or desire outside of eating. They can only be stopped by mortally wounding the head or by setting them on fire. They can also turn other people into more zombies or ghouls, whatever. Spoiler warning for a 40-plus-year-old movie, worth noting, the only character who survives to the end is Ben, who is black. His death at the end was considered extremely controversial because this was the hero. This was kind of, as I understand it, the first time that audiences saw a black person as the hero and wanted them to survive so strongly that it was a huge deal when he died. And specifically that he was killed by people also trying to fight the ghouls, and he was mistaken for a ghoul. And, you know, there's the whole thing of originally zombies are about being enslaved, and he was black and killed by white people, and they thought he was a ghoul. And moving on. So, and, you know, the futility themes that we see in zombie media nowadays probably had a lot of basis in watching Ben, our hero, get killed at the very end when we thought he would succeed. So why are they called zombies if Romero called them ghouls? Well, 10 years later, Romero made a sequel called Dawn of the Dead, the second in a long list of the dead whatevers, wherein he used the actual word zombie. Why? Well, between White Zombie and Night of the Living Dead, there were 36 movies retroactively considered zombie movies many of which actually use the word zombie in the title. When Romero's film came out, even though he used the term ghoul, people were likely to equate it to the more, I guess, traditional and aesthetically similar enslaved zombies. Ghoul wasn't really a defined or eye-catching thing. It was sort of a catch-all term for, well, a lot of different things. It's originally Arabic and referencing a demon, but we use it for death in general. A ghoul can be anything from a living corpse to someone we don't like. How ghoulish! Zombie was much poppier, for lack of a better word, and newer. It wasn't really in use in its modern context until relatively recently, so when Night of the Living Dead came out, even if Romero called his shambling corpses ghouls, critics and the public called them zombies. By Dawn of the Dead, so did he. And from there on out, we called Romero ghouls zombies, and we called the enslaved nothing. We don't really seem to get zombies as enslaved servants anymore. There are things like it from time to time, but after Romero's big gory splatterfest of a movie that was too impactful to ignore, we wanted to see more of that, and then we wanted to see more of that in different ways that still branched off what we considered the root of the zombie mythos. From shambling zombies to running zombies to walking zombies, from magic zombies to science zombies to fungus zombies, from human zombies to zombie vampires to zombie whatever the fuck Resident Evil movies are doing, I guess. We wanted to see undead zombies in all different kinds of shapes and sizes and colors, and we didn't really ask to see them as enslaved anymore. Zombies became antagonists. We as Americans took a mythos and adapted it to fit our own anxieties. Zombies went from a fear of enslavement, where not even death could be a release anymore, to a fear of death and disease, an excuse to do anything to survive. Zombies became dangerous, things to be frightened of instead of pitied. There was no master anymore making the zombies what they were and enslaving them. They just were. A personification of death to fight and triumph against, usually. The idea that we took a mythos that involved the supernatural creature being a normal person who was enslaved against their will and turned it into the same supernatural creature being dangerous and killing them being good is, buddy. Doesn't help that there was the cannibalism thing and, yeah. So where does that leave us today? Well, there's the consumerism metaphor that's rampant all over the place, right alongside copious amounts of zombie merchandising. The games and movies that allow us and encourage us to directly kill or root for the killing of zombies en masse because, hey, maybe they were people once, but they've been infected with the whatever, and we can kill them because they're not real people anymore. And some attempts at having a villain create zombies for his evil plans because having an unending horde of disease-spreading undead cannibals helps in some way. That theme plays more to concerns of corporations and the like being unchecked, though, because they're not enslaving people for any reason, they're just experimenting on shit, and because they don't have any oversight, the zombie toxins just get out willy-nilly. Take a shot every time you find a movie where they were researching a military weapon that for some fucking inexplicable reason reanimates the dead. Sure. There's not a lot of movies that explore the anxieties that were tied to the origin of the zombie myth of enslavement, where not even death is a release. Maybe I don't watch enough zombie horror, but what comes to mind at the moment is Warm Bodies from 2013 by Jonathan Levine, and a short in VHS 2, I think, where a dude is turned into a zombie and we see it from his perspective of the camera that's strapped to his helmet. I don't think I can actually count that one, though. And Warm Bodies doesn't deal with enslavement, just looks at it from the point of view of the zombies and treats them as still human. And even then there's the Bonies, who represent a less human zombie to kill en masse. Now, is there necessarily a problem with taking a mythos and adapting it to your own culture's anxieties, or just your personal ones? Inherently? No. Humans have done that for as long as we have found other cultures to take mythos from. It's a thing that we do. We take stories and we fit them to our cultures and our experiences and our social groups. That's how culture evolves. Is there necessarily a problem with having zombies be shambling undead who represent death and disease and a personification of death with the face of loved ones? Is there necessarily a problem with the idea of zombie apocalypses as escapism, where the individual matters exponentially more now that 99.99% of the population has been effectively taken out of the equation by stripping them of their free will and individuality? Well, yeah, actually, that should maybe be looked at a little more critically, but again, inherently, no, not really. Reasonable escapism is fine. Is there a problem with taking a mythos of another culture, adapting it to our own culture and our own anxieties, and practically scouring off its origin to the point that most people don't know anything about it, specifically a culture taking the mythos involving enslavement anxieties from the culture they enslaved and whitewashing the enslavement origin? Yes, that is a problem. That is a major problem. I like zombies. I like shambling corpses and running corpses, and I like warm bodies, and I like, you know, zombie disease turning people crazy and murderous, like in Crossed or The Crazies. I like the stories that can be told with zombie apocalypses. I like how there's about 5 billion kinds of stories you can tell with zombies. And among those stories are stories that are based in the origins of enslavement. Actually, one other movie I can think of that does seem to call back to the origins of zombies, and it came out recently, is Get Out. It's not a traditional zombie movie. It's not even really a zombie movie. But it does call to the themes of being enslaved and being enslaved in your own body, and specifically who is being enslaved, by whom, and why. I wholeheartedly recommend seeing it. So that is a really brief and really loose ramble about the history of zombies. For the next video, I'm going to be looking at different zombie designs, how their looks have changed over time and from franchise to franchise, like I mentioned. That'll be next Wednesday, by the by. The actual next video will be the second part of Read Only Memories 2064. That's part of the Paper Has Games series. I do have a video for another game recorded after that, but I think I'm going to play Night in the Woods over the weekend, since it just came out and a lot of people are playing it. I backed the Kickstarter and got the game, so I may as well go ahead and play it and record it. I may also record myself playing Overwatch at some point, so you can watch me try and fill all roles as Junkrat. Until next time, thank you all for watching, and I hope you'll join me for the next video. I love you all, and I hope you have a wonderful day. Bye!